Welcome dear students. So today I am taking fourth lecture on our ongoing second chapter of our syllabus. So in today's lecture I will going to discuss about energy stored in a capacitor and energy density, energy stored in series and parallel combination of capacitors, loss of energy on sharing charges between two capacitors. So first of all, first topic we are taking is energy stored in a capacitor. So for this purpose I have taken the simplest case of parallel plate capacitor. That is, I have taken two plates parallel to each other. They are equally but oppositely charged. So this plate having surface density of plus sigma, this is having identical plate but having surface density of minus sigma, and they are apart from each other by a certain distance of d. So what is the meaning of saying energy stored in a capacitor? So what we can say, I have connected these two plates via connecting wires to a battery of potential difference V. So what we can say here, the process of charging a capacitor is equivalent to transferring charges. So this process of charging a capacitor is equivalent to transferring charges from one plate to other plate of this capacitor. So during this process of charging, what we will going to do, against this potential difference provided by this battery, we will going to transfer the charges from one plate to another plate. We will going to build up the charges by transferring it from one plate to another plate. So for that purpose, what we will say, the moment charging start, so whenever we have connected the two parallel plate with the help of a battery, so what will going to happen, the moment charging starts, there is a potential difference between the plates. Because of this battery, there will be certain potential difference. How much? It will be V amount. So there will be V amount of potential difference between these two parallel plates of this capacitor. Okay, so therefore, to transfer charges against the potential difference, some work is to be done. See, potential difference, this is the positive terminal, this is negative terminal. So against the potential difference, so potential difference, this, it want to send the charges, positive charge from here to here. But what I want to charge up this capacitor. Charge up this capacitor means what? We want to build up more and more positive charge on this left side plate and more negative charge on this right side plate. So for that purpose, what we need to do, we have to transfer the charges bit by bit from this right plate towards this left plate. That is, any small amount of positive charge I will going to transfer from this negative plate towards this positive plate, so that I can build up more and more amount of charges, positive on this left plate and negative on this right plate. But this I have to do in presence of this external potential difference, mean against this potential difference I have to do this. So what we are saying, to transfer charges against the potential difference, some work is to be done. So always we are knowing, whenever we are doing something externally against the system, so we have to do external work. So here external work we are doing in transferring the positive charges bit by bit from this right plate towards this left plate against this potential difference provided by this battery. So this work gets stored as electrostatic potential energy in the capacitor. So for that electrostatic energy, we want to see the expression, we want to express it. So let I call, if dq, that any small amount of charge I have taken, if dq be the charge transferred against the potential difference V, then work done will be what? So work done, the definition itself we are knowing. So work done is what? See, by the definition of electric potential, V equals what? V is nothing but work done per unit charge. So V will be W divided by Q. So V is what? V is W divided by Q. So amount of work done will be what? Amount of work done will be simply charge into potential, and this work done gets stored as energy. So since I am transferring small amount of charge dq, so that's why work done will be small, and hence storage of energy will be also small. So that's why du I have taken as small amount of electrostatic energy stored as a result of transfer of dq amount of charge from this negative plate towards this positive plate against the potential difference V. So that's why du will be equal to amount of external work against the potential will be equal to, by definition of potential, it will be equal to what? It will be V into dq. So now we can put the value. We know that C equals what? By the definition of capacitance, we have already understood that C is nothing but is the ratio of charge to the potential. So this V will be equal to what? V will be, do the cross multiplication, V will be Q divided by C. So here I have placed the value of V. So V equals Q divided by C. So now this we have written just for some small amount of positive charge to be transferred from negative plate towards this positive plate. But what I want, I have to build up some maximum amount of charge on this plate, that is positive charge on this plate, and same amount of negative charge on this plate. So for that I have to do some total work, net work. So the total work done, or say total energy stored to transfer charge capital Q, this small q, will be equal to what? So this total will be always integration of all small things. Okay, so total energy U will be integration of building the charge from 0 to small q, total amount of charge is small q, will be equal to what? Integration of this du. So du is what? Du is nothing but Q divided by C into dq. So here capital C is the characteristics property of a particular arrangement of capacitor. So it is constant. So C, 1 by C you can take out. Q into dq. So we are knowing x raised to power n into dx integration will be x raised to power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. That is, we have to increase the charge by 1 and we have to divide by the increased power so as to do the integration, and then we will going to put the limits, upper limit minus lower limit, in place of variable parameter. So after solving this, what we can get, that it will be equal to half q square divided by c. So c we have taken out, q into dq becomes q square divided by 2. You put the value, upper limit is q, lower limit is 0 only, so it will be q square divided by 2c. So this is one of the expression for energy stored in a capacitor. Okay, how it is getting stored? We are simply transferring the charges from one plate to another plate bit by bit against the potential difference. So we are doing some work and the same work done appearing as potential energy. Now using this definition of capacitance, we can express this electrostatic potential energy in other forms, this energy stored in a capacitor in other forms also. So this U is function of what? Q and C. So further if we want to express it in terms of C and V, so we can eliminate this Q. So Q will be equal to what? Q will be equal to, do the cross multiplication, Q will be equal to C into V. So C square V square divided by C. C getting cancelled out and the expression will be half CV square. Similar way, what we can say, if we want in terms of Q and V, so again what we need to replace? We will replace C. So C will be equal to Q divided by V. So Q getting cancelled out and we will be left with U equals half Q into V. So these three, they are the equivalent expression for energy stored in a capacitor. Okay, so here Q is what? Charge which we want to build up, C is what? Capacitance, and V is what? Potential difference between the parallel plates of the given arrangement of the capacitor. Okay, so these expression you must remember, that energy stored is equal to half Q square divided by C. Any one expression you remember, others you can easily obtain with the help of the definition of capacitance, that is C equals Q by V. In whatever form you want, you just simply express this. So U equals half Q square divided by C, half CV square, half Q into V. Now energy density. So what we have seen that U is comes out to be half CV square. Any one form you just remember. Now also for the case of parallel plate capacitor, what we know that the capacitance is equal to what? Capacitance is equal to epsilon naught A divided by D. Epsilon naught is the electrical permittivity of free space, because just vacuum is present in between the parallel plate. Capital A is what? This is area of a cross section of these two plates. D is what? D is the separation between two plates. So C, capacitance is simply equal to epsilon naught A divided by D. Now also what we know, the expression, the relation between potential and electric field. So electric field is what? Electric field is V divided by separation, or after doing the multiplication, cross multiplication, V will be equal to what? E into separation. So after switching the value of this C and V, okay, in this expression what I can write, that U will be equal to C. You put the value epsilon naught A divided by D. So I have put epsilon naught A divided by D into V square will be what? E square into D square. So I will be getting half epsilon naught A D into E square. Further what we can say, this A and D, see, these are the parameters related to what? These are the parameters related to the geometrical shape and size of the parallel plates. A is what? Area, and D is simply the separation between the two plates. So these geometrical parameters I have taken in the left hand side. So that's why this is energy divided by area into this length separation. Okay, now you just think about the dimension of this parameter, area into separation, area into height or length we can call. So this is what? This is nothing but the volume. This is what? This is volume. Okay, so this is what? Energy per unit volume is comes out to be half epsilon naught E square. Okay, so what we can say, energy per unit volume comes out to be half epsilon naught E square, and energy per unit volume is nothing but so called energy density, because density means what? Something per unit volume. Here energy density, so energy per unit volume. So energy per unit volume comes out to be half epsilon naught E square. Okay, now what we can say, so energy density, as the name itself suggesting, energy per unit volume. So energy is SI unit will be joule, volume means per meter cube. Okay, now energy density is generalized as energy per unit volume of the field. So here energy will going to get stored in form of electric field. Okay, now next case is energy stored in a series combination of capacitors. Okay, so in this previous case we have just taken single parallel plate capacitor, but what if we have large number of combination of capacitors and they are connected in series combination? Okay, so in that case we will going to see. So what we know, in series combination, when we are combining or joining large number of capacitors of capacitance C1, C2, C3 and so on and so forth, okay, in series combination, then what we know the formula, the total or net effective capacitance will be equal to 1 divided by C will be equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3 and so on so forth. Okay, now what further thing we know, whenever the capacitors or any component, okay, they are connected or they are joined in series. So whenever capacitors they are joined in series, so what remains same? Charge remains same. What remains same? Q remains same, charge remains same. So that's why here we will going to use the expression for energy which contains this Q parameter. See, we want to take care of capacitance, because this net capacitance we want to have in the expression. Second thing, this more reliable parameter will be what? The most reliable parameter will be the parameter which remains same during that process. So this process is what? This is series combination. So in series combination what remains same? Charge remains same. So that's why among those three expressions we will going to use the expression of energy as half Q square divided by C, because this capacitance I want to use here. Second thing, other reliable parameter it should be the parameter which remains constant. Okay, so in series what remains constant? Q. So dear students, in case of series combination, whenever you are required for any kind of comparison, okay, related to this energy density or energy stored, okay, so always you use expression energy stored will be equal to half Q square divided by C, because Q remains same and depending on C we will going to put the value. So now we will going to put the value. So for this arrangement, C is what? C, 1 by C equals 1 by C1, 1 by C2, 1 by C3. I have put the value here. Now you just separate the each term. So it will be equal to what? It will be equal to, see, this multiply by this, then this multiply by this, and so on so forth. Like you can put half Q square divided by C1 plus half Q square by C2, half Q square by C3, and so on so forth. So it will be what? Energy stored in first capacitor, energy stored in second, energy stored in third, and so on so forth. So what we can generalize here, the total energy stored in the system is sum of energy stored in the individual capacitor. So here we can say total energy in the combination, series combination of capacitors will be simply equal to the sum of energy stored in individual capacitor. Okay, so now we will take the next type of possible combination, that is parallel combination. So in case of parallel combination, we are already knowing that effective capacitance or total capacitance of parallel combination of large number of capacitors will be C1 plus C2 plus C3 and so on so forth. So here you have to think that which expression of energy stored, because we have three expression for energy stored, okay, but which one shall we select? So it depends what type of combination we are studying. So we are studying a parallel combination. Now which parameter will going to remain same? So potential going to remain same. Okay, so two parameters I want to have in my expression. One should be the capacitance and other should be this potential, because it remains same for parallel combination. So that's why I will going to preferably use U will be equal to half CV square. I want V and C. So that's why half CV square I will going to use. Now you put the value of C. So C will be what? C1 plus C2 plus C3, and hence half C1V square, half C2V square will be what? U1 plus U2, like that. Okay, so U comes out to be what? U1 plus U2 plus U3, that is total energy stored in the system is the sum of energy stored in the individual capacitors. Okay, now next important topic is loss of energy on sharing of charges between the capacitors in parallel. So what we are going to study about that, we will going to put in connection the two capacitors in parallel combination. Okay, so there will be sharing of charges, okay, will going to take place, and on behalf of that we will going to see that whether there will be any loss of energy and what should be the amount of this loss. Okay, so let us consider that we have two capacitors of capacitance C1 and C2. Two capacitors we have taken, okay, their charge is initially Q1 and Q2, and potential they are at V1 and V2. So two capacitors of capacitance C1 C2, charge is Q1 and Q2, they are at potential V1 and V2. Now we want to join them in parallel. Okay, so we will going to see what will going to happen. So as per conservation of charges, what we know that total charge after sharing must be equal to total charge before sharing. Okay, so we have two components, that is two capacitors. So as per this charge conservation, what we can say, total charge after sharing must be equal to total charge before sharing, and for this charge must remember the definition of capacitance. C equals what? C is nothing but the ratio of charge to the potential. C equals Q divided by V. So Q will be equal to what? Q will be equal to capacitance into V. So this we will going to simply use. So what I can say, total charge after sharing. So you tell me, after putting the two capacitors in parallel combination, okay, joining them in parallel combination, what will be the total capacitance? In parallel, it will be C1 plus C2. Okay, so total capacitance is how much? Charge will be equal to what? After cross multiplying by the definition of capacitance, charge will be capacitance into V. Now you see, total charge after sharing, total capacitance is how much? C1 plus C2, and potential will be how much? It will be a common potential. Whenever parallel combination mean potential remains same. So let I call the common potential of these two capacitors after connecting them in parallel combination will be capital V. Okay, will be equal to total charge before sharing. So before sharing they are independent only, they are individual only. Okay, so for both I will calculate Q1 and Q2 respectively. So Q1 will be what? Q1 will be equal to C1 into V1 and Q2 will be equal to what? C2 into V2. Now what I want this common potential. So common potential V will be equal to what? This expression. So what we can say, the total energy before sharing is, so total energy before sharing will be what? See, before sharing they were individual component, so Ui, that is initially the total energy will be what? Half C1 V1 square, okay, plus half C2 V2 square. So this should be the expression for total energy stored initially when they were placed independently. Okay, so already we are knowing the parameter C1 V1, C2 V2, so we can put the value. Similarly, now total energy after sharing, so after sharing now we have joined them, okay, in parallel combination. So here we will going to use half CV square, but C is what? C is the total capacitance of the parallel combination of two capacitor. So in parallel combination, capacitance will be simply get added up. So half C1 plus C2 into V square. Okay, value of V we are already knowing. Okay, from the previous slide we have got the expression of this V, common potential. What we call this? Common potential. Okay, so after putting the value of V, if I want to have the difference of this Ui is what? Total energy stored initially, okay, before sharing. Similarly, UF is what? UF is simply the energy stored after sharing. Okay, so if I just numerically subtract them, that is U initial minus U final, after putting the value of this V, capital V, common potential, already I am knowing from previous slide. Okay, so I will be getting C1 into C2, V1 minus V2 twice divided by twice of C1 plus C2. Here what we can say, Ui minus Uf, it will be always greater than 0. So it will be always greater than 0. So what we can say, that Ui will be always greater than Uf. Okay, so here this, since the Ui minus Uf is always greater than 0 from this numerical expression, so what we can say, initial energy stored, it was greater than final energy stored, correct? So for that purpose, what we can say now, therefore there is some loss of energy when two charged capacitors are connected together, because initially energy was more, finally energy comes out to be less. Okay, so we will say, so what we will say, that initial energy was more, final energy is less, so that's why there is some loss of energy. So where this energy will going to get dissipated, the loss of energy appears as heat. Okay, so the loss of energy will going to appear as heat, and the wire connecting the two capacitors may become somewhat hot. Okay, so this energy, this loss of energy Ui minus Uf, numerically it will going to appear as heat. And how the heat will dissipate? In form of like through these connecting wires. These connecting wires may become hot. Okay, so this is the concept. Whenever we have put the two capacitors in parallel combination, so after sharing there will be some loss of energy, and that energy will going to simply dissipate in form of heat energy. Okay, now the last topic is, we are taking the case of small charged sphere we have placed inside a uniformly charged spherical shell. Okay, so please try to understand. initially what I am having a uniformly charged spherical shell of radius capital R. Uniformly charged spherical shell of radius capital R. Total amount of charge is how much? Total amount of charge is capital Q. Positive charge capital Q, and radius of this spherical shell is capital R. So when I am saying conducting spherical shell, so charge will be uniformly distributed over its entire surface area. Okay. Now somehow experimentally I have placed another charged sphere. Okay. Some small charged sphere I have somehow placed inside this spherical shell so that their center are coinciding. Okay, so this smaller, this is what? This is the uniformly charged sphere of radius small r, which is much less than capital R. And how much charge it is having? It is having small q amount of positive charge. Okay, is this consideration clear? Correct. So uniformly charged spherical shell of radius capital R, total charge capital Q, which is uniformly spreaded over its entire surface. Okay. Inside this, somehow I have placed a uniformly charged sphere of radius small r, which is much less than capital R. Okay. Total charge present on this is how much? Q. Okay. So what will going to happen? So we will going to check if we connect these. See, these are two different entity. If I somehow connect them with the help of a conducting wire, okay, so how the charges will going to flow? Because we know there may be some flow of charge from one body to the other body. So we will going to simply see under such arrangement in what manner the charge will going to flow. So for that, see, flow of charge is decided by what? Potential difference. Okay, positive charge by default will going to flow from high potential to low potential. Okay, so now idea is that I have two point or say two area of my interest. One is the surface area, this outside surface area, other is inside surface area. Okay, so what I want to measure the total potential on these two surface, this surface, then this surface. So inside surface I will going to calculate the total potential, and outside surface also I will going to check the total potential. Then I will check the potential difference, which one is larger, which one is lesser, which will going to decide the flow of positive charge. Okay, so net potential at the surface of inside smaller charged sphere. So first point I have taken the surface of this smaller charged sphere. Okay, so tell me, V inside I am calling this. V inside will be what? Since potential is a scalar quantity, so here we have two different charge configuration. One, this uniformly charged sphere of radius small r. Second is uniformly charged spherical shell, charge capital Q, radius capital R. So here potential, this total potential inside here, it will be summation of potential due to charged sphere of radius r plus potential due to charged shell of radius capital R. Okay, so here potential will be due to itself as well as potential due to this uniformly charged spherical shell of radius capital R. But point of observation is this. So dear students, you must have understood that whenever we have a uniformly charged spherical shell, so from the application of Gauss law, what we know that electric field inside a uniformly charged spherical shell, it is zero. What we know that this electric field inside uniformly charged spherical shell is zero. Also, next thing what we know that electric field is equal to negative gradient of potential. What we know? Electric field is negative gradient of potential. So what I can say, for inside this spherical shell, okay, since electric field is zero, so electric field is equal to what? Negative gradient of potential. So if gradient means differentiation. If differentiation of potential is 0, means potential is no longer changing, potential is constant. That is, potential due to this uniformly charged spherical shell will be what? It will be constant. It will be same on surface as well as inside, and value will be what? Value will be simply q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into r. Okay, so for that, using that, I have written here potential due to charged shell of radius capital R, but where I am observing? I am observing at this point, at the surface of smaller sphere. Okay, so it will be what? From this concept that E inside is 0 and electric field is negative gradient of potential, so that's why I can safely say that electric potential on the surface and inside any uniformly charged spherical shell will be constant throughout, and the value will be charge divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into its radius. Okay, so here we have to take radius of this uniformly charged spherical shell, because the value of potential will be same as that of on the surface. So on the surface, value will be q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. So when we are coming towards its center, so value remains same. So I have put the value q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r. Now second entity is what? Potential due to charged sphere of radius small r, this itself. Okay, so at its surface itself we will going to calculate its potential. So potential will be what? Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into separation. So separation will be what? Its radius only. So its radius is how much? Small r. Okay, so this we have written the expression for V inside. Okay, at this point we have written net potential. So first potential due to this smaller one, second potential due to this outer one. Okay, but observation point is this one. So at this point we have written the total potential, that is I am calling it V inside. Okay, now second point of our interest is what? This outside point. Okay, that is point of observation is lying on the surface of outsider, this outer one spherical shell. So for that, V outside will be what? So V outside will be equal to, now it will be summation of potential due to this smaller one as well as potential due to this bigger one, this spherical shell. So due to this smaller one, it will be what? Smaller one, it is having how much charge? Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. But now you just check, I am observing at this point. So how much I am at distance with respect to this? I am at a distance of capital R. I am at a distance of a capital R from this smaller sphere. Okay, present at the center of this larger one. Okay, so that's why potential due to this smaller sphere but at the surface of outer spherical shell will be equal to its charge, that is small q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught, and separation will be the radius of bigger sphere, because separation of observation point from the source is how much? It is capital R. So I have written here capital R. Similarly, for this second will be what? This V outside will be, second term will be what? It will be potential due to this outer spherical shell. So for this I have already told you that the potential on the surface and inside of a charged spherical shell is constant, and it will be equal to always q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R. Okay, so it will be same only. Whatever I have written here, it will be same here also. So q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught capital R. Okay, so now we have written V inside and V outside. Okay, now since you see this second term here and second term here in equation number 1 and equation number 2, second term they are same only. Okay, so as to see which one is larger, okay, I will going to compare the first term. Now first term numerator is same. Okay, denominator just here capital R, here small r. What I know, small r is less than capital R. It tells me, see here small r here and capital R here. So if r is small, mean V inside will be large. So what I can safely say, V inside will be greater than V outside. Mean in this arrangement, what is the arrangement? I have placed this small radius charged sphere inside a uniformly charged spherical shell of some larger radius. In that case, what I found that this potential on the surface of smaller sphere, that is V inside, comes out to be more than the potential due to this arrangement on the surface of outer shell, that is V outside. So V inside comes out to be V outside. What we know by definition of potential difference, this potential or potential difference, it decides the flow of positive charge, we can say. Okay, and positive charge will going to always flow from high potential to low potential. Now since V inside is more, so V inside is high and V outside is less, it is low. Okay, now if we connect these two entity, that is this charge sphere, small sphere, and this spherical shell, I have connected or joined them with the help of a conducting wire. Okay, so conducting wire is simply a path, okay, through which the charges can flow. But how charges, in which direction charges will flow, it will be decided by the potential difference. That is, charge will always going to flow from higher potential to the lower potential. That is, in our case, the charge will going to flow from inside towards the outside. Okay, it is irrespective of the amount of charge present here. That is, whatever charge you have given to your smaller sphere, which you have somehow placed inside the uniformly charged spherical shell, so immediately, because of larger amount of potential at the surface of inside sphere, the charge, this charge inside charge Q will going to move from the smaller sphere to the outside spherical shell. That is, if we somehow able to place a small charged spherical sphere inside a charged spherical shell, then charge present on inner sphere will float towards the surface of outer spherical shell when they are connecting using a conducting wire, and even it does not depend on the amount of charge present on this larger sphere. Okay, it is irrespective of that, it is independent of that. Simply the charge will going to flow from